Long ago, in the distant village of Bantaif, resided a virtuous and lovely woman named Modu. She led a joyful life, being wed to a young man named Madin. This couple thrived in happiness within the embrace of the Bantaif village. Madin, a respected farmer, garnered admiration for his agricultural prowess. Meanwhile, Modu, recognized as a skilled trader, sold food crops in the village market, having acquired farming expertise from her beloved husband. Despite their happiness, there was a singular problem that challenged their union. Modu and Madin had no children. It didn't take long. Gossip about Modu's childlessness began to circulate in the village, yet she remained undeterred. Each night, she fervently prayed to the gods, seeking a child who would silence her mockers. Years passed without the arrival of a child, until one night when Modu dreamt of an Orisha. Overwhelmed by the divine radiance, she trembled in fear. The Orisha, reassuringly, told Modu that her prayers had been heard, and she would bear a unique child. "You will have a child, a special child. She will bear the mark of the gods and possess wings unlike any child ever born," proclaimed the Orisha, promising fortune and foretelling the sprouting of wings on the child's 16th birthday. Awakening from this mystical dream, Modu, momentarily frightened, dismissed it, choosing not to dwell on its significance. In due time, Modu gave birth to a breathtaking girl named Elira, whose beauty prompted an outpouring of gifts from the villagers. However, the serene melody of life in Bantaif was short-lived. A somber day arrived when Madin fell victim to a debilitating illness, rendering him unable to walk. Despite Modu's tireless efforts, her husband remained confined to his bed, challenging the harmony they once knew. She met with the best doctors her money could pay, but there was nothing that could be done. After a few months, Madin died, leaving his beautiful wife and daughter alone in the world. Modu and her daughter, Elira, mourned for their beloved husband and father for a long time. However, Modu knew she needed to be strong and take care of her daughter. Elira also knew she needed to be strong for her mother also. As time passed, Yeton grew up to be beautiful and loved by the villagers. Her teeth were white as snow and her smile could make the coldest of heart to melt. Over time, Modu didn't think much about the dream she had about her daughter. She was just happy she had finally had a child that was obedient, kind and grateful. She also didn't tell the dream to her daughter Elira, because one, she felt it was just an imaginary dream, and also she didn't want her daughter to be scared or to look at herself differently. It was a fateful afternoon that Elira was cooking in the kitchen. Modu, on the other hand, was busy outside when all of a sudden she heard a scream from inside. She quickly rushed into the kitchen to check on her daughter. Behold, when Modu arrived inside the kitchen, she saw that two majestic white feathered wings had sprouted from her daughter's back. Modu was beyond shocked. She then remembered the dream she dreamt many years ago and now finally believed that it was true. Modu then calmed down her daughter and told her to command the wings to disappear, as she remembered that the Oricha told her that her daughter would be able to willingly summon the wings and make it disappear just by wishing it in her mind. After the wings disappeared, Modu then sat her daughter down and explained the entire story to her. "No matter what happens, you must never use this your gift, my child," Modu warned her daughter Elira. Elira nodded. She assured her mother that she would heed her warnings in order not to bring any problems to their family. 1 year passed as Modu and her daughter continued to live a quiet and peaceful life in the village of Bantaif. 1 year passed as Modu and her daughter continued to live a quiet and peaceful life in the village of Bantaif. Modu missed her husband dearly, and sometimes she wished he was still alive to watch their beautiful daughter grow to be so nurturing and beautiful. She also wished she was alive to had helped them, as sometimes she felt the burden of catering for herself and her daughter was so much to bear. However, Modu always took comfort that Elira never once complained about her chores or going to the market or even going to the farm. She was grateful to the gods for granting her a good and understanding child like Elira, and for that she was indeed grateful. One morning, like any other morning, Elira had gone to the stream to fetch water. She had gone with her best friend Mira and her little brother. Myra's parents had died a few years back in a tragic accident, and because of this she and her brothers were now orphans. Before their death, Myra's parents were good friends with Modu and had supported her in taking care of Elira after her husband died. Because of this, Mira and Elira grew to be the best of friends, and their bond only got stronger after Myra's parents had died. It was still sunny when Mira and Elira got to the stream. There, they realized no one was there and that they were the only ones that came to fetch water. In an attempt to fetch the water, something drastically strange and tragic happened. At the edge of the river, a strong wave of water came through and succeeded in dragging Myra's little brother, pulling him far away from dry land, Tola. Mira screamed her brother's name in agony and shocked as she watched her brother struggle with the water. Elira, who could think of no other way to help her friend, decided that she could not let Mira lose her only remaining family member. She sprouted her wings and flew towards the raging water. She succeeded in pulling Tola out of the water and then flew them back to dry land. "Please, you must never speak of what you saw to anyone," Elira told her friend Mira, who was still in shock after witnessing what happened. "Thank you. Thank you for saving my brother. He's all I have." Mira burst into tears. She hugged her dear friend for saving her brother's life. She was more grateful to her friend than curious as to where she got the power. Mira promised that she would never speak of what she saw to anyone. The two girls headed back to the village. In the cool of the evening, some villagers had gathered around Modu's house and began to chant witch. Unknown to Elira, some village women who were returning from a nearby village had taken the path of the stream and had watched Elira save Myra's little brother. As soon as the women returned to the village, they began to spread word of mouth. They told more villagers what they had saw. In just a few hours, almost all the villagers had heard the gossip that Modu's daughter had wings and that she was a witch. As soon as Modu saw that villagers had gathered around her house, she knew something had happened. She knew that it had to do with Elira and her gifts. "Elira, what did you do?" Modu asked her daughter. Elira could not give an answer but only started to cry. "I saved him, Mama." That was all she could say. Modu and her daughter Elira were soon dragged out of their hut. The villagers began to murmur that Elira must not be allowed to live. Some said that Modu had gone to meet the water spirits to give her a bewitched child. Others said that Elira would bewitch their children if allowed to stay in the village. Some villagers had even gone to carry torches of fire ready to kill Modu's only child. Modu, out of shock and agony, fell to the ground and began weeping for her child. Was she going to lose Elira, her only daughter, the same way she lost her husband? She cried. It was a night of agony and pain, as the child who once brought laughter to the village was now hated because of her divine gift. What will be the fate of Elira and her mother? Find out in the next episode. Do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Till we meet again. The villagers were still ready to kill Modu and Elira. It was at that moment that the king of the village and his son Prince Oren appeared. Some villagers had gone to report to the palace about what was going on in Modu's hut, and because of that it attracted the attention of the royal palace. As soon as the villagers saw the king, they then stopped chanting and became silent out of the fear and respect they had for their ruler. "Do you deny what these villagers are saying about your daughter?" the king asked Modu. Modu wanted to lie to protect her child, but she knew it would only get her in more trouble. "No, my king," Modu said, still in tears. Elira was also beside her crying. Mira, who also had heard what happened to Elira and her mother, was broken when she heard the news. She knew that all this was happening because Elira decided to save her little brother. She quickly rushed to Modu's hut and fell to the ground, crying as she saw her friend who saved her brother's life and Modu, the woman who she now knows to be her mother. The prince, who saw Elira and her mother crying and had heard what happened, then spoke to the villagers that Elira did not deserve such punishment, that all she did was save a child that was about to die. The villagers began to murmur in disagreement of the prince's words. The king, hearing the murmur, commanded everyone to be silent, and the whole atmosphere became silent and calm. Prince Oran then slowly whispered to his father the king that he should be thoughtful and merciful in his judgment, and that the women in question, Modu and her daughter, were not evil people. The king took a deep breath and then passed his judgment. He told Modu that her daughter was banished from the village since the villagers did not want to accept her. He also told Modu that she could remain in the village herself if she wished, since she still had a life in Bantai village. Hearing the punishment, Modu began to weep. "Where would my daughter go?" she asked. The villagers then began to disperse and return to their homes one after the other. Elira, who was still in tears, apologized to her mother. "I'm sorry, mother. I didn't mean for this to happen. It's okay, my daughter, you did the right thing. I love you and I will always love you." Modu then hugged Elira, Mira, and her little brother tightly like her own children. It was soon morning. Modu had prepared for daughter to journey out of the village. She, Mira, and her little brother followed Elira to a nearby cave. It was the place where Elira could hide from the villagers without being too far from her mother. Modu told Elira that she needed some time to harvest what that had planted in the village. She further told her that after she had harvested and sold them, that she, Elira, Mira, and her little brother would move into another village and start a new life. "I will come to stay with you at night," Elira said to her daughter with great sadness in her heart. She then left the children as she went back into the village to continue her work. Mira stayed with her friend, talking and having fun together for hours. Mira was trying to make sure Elira didn't think too much about what had happened. As the sun was starting to go down, Elira told Mira to return to the village because of her younger brother. "I'll always come here to visit you," Mira said as she then left Elira. Several weeks passed. Elira was becoming used to being apart from the village, although deep down it hurted her. Although Modu, her mother, always came to visit her and bring her food, Elira would occasionally still go into the forest and cry her heart out. She would lament and ask why the gods gave her wings if it was only going to separate her from her mother, who she loved the most. "My mother said I would bring good fortune to my family, but I have done the exact opposite of that," Elira would lament as she cried. Being that she was alone in the forest, no one would respond to her. The only thing that made Elira happy and gave her joy about being alone was her ability to fly without anyone pointing fingers at her. So, once Elira was alone, she would practice her flying in the mountains that are far from the village. At the top of the mountain, Elira would be able to see far and wide, and was even able to see Bantai village and the villagers and how they were all going about their daily living. As the months passed, she began to grow even more feminine and beautiful. It so happened one morning that the prince of Bantai village, Prince Oran, decided to go hunt in the forest with two of his most trusted bodyguards. Prince Oran was a skilled hunter and was even more skilled than his father the king, who taught him from when he was a little boy. Prince Oran took his bow and arrow and his blade and went into the forest. While in the forest, before he and his bodyguards could even start hunting, a strong gust of wind blew in the forest. The wind was so strong that the prince and the bodyguards had to hold onto some trees for fear of being blown away. However, in the midst of this, the prince's royal family cap was blown out of his head into the far distance. It was soon at that moment that the heavy wind came to a stop. Prince Oran ordered his bodyguards to spread out and look for the royal cap in the direction that the wind blew. He too started his search for the cap also. While searching for his cap, Prince Oran heard a voice crying in the forest. The voice sounded like that of a girl, so he walked in the direction of the voice. At last, he then saw Elira. As soon as Prince Oran saw Elira, he recognized that she was the one who had been banished from the village. He had fell in love since the day he saw her at her mother's hut that dreadful night, and that was why he convinced his father the king not to carry out a sentence that would hurt Elira or her mother. As soon as Elira saw that someone was in her presence, she wiped her tears. Prince Oran then introduced himself to Elira and told her that he liked her and that he felt upset and sad for many days and that he thought that she and her mother had left the village already. "Are you not afraid of me?" Elira asked Prince Oran. "Everyone who knows about my powers in the village all wanted me to be far from them," Elira said. Prince Oran then responded to Elira, "I'm not afraid, I know you have a good heart. I would like you to be my queen," Prince Oran said. "I believe your wings is a blessing and that one day, everyone will see it," Prince Oran said. The two of them began to have a sweet and long conversation. The prince told Elira about the strong wind and how he lost his royal cap. Elira told the prince about everything that had happened since she left the village, the challenges she had been facing by being alone most of the time. Prince Oran comforted Elira and told her that everything would be alright and that he would find a way to always come to visit her. After he said those words, Elira was sad. She told Prince Oran that he should not risk his life to come into the forest to come see her and that if the villagers knew what happened, they would hate her even more. Prince Oran thought about Elira's words and then told her that he would pray to the gods for 12 days and 12 nights without eating so that the gods would protect their love and find a way for them to be together. "I have never been more sure and true about anything in my life. I am sure the gods will hear my prayers," Prince Oran said. "I will pray also," Elira said, smiling. Elira took to the sky in search of Prince Oran's royal cap. Since she was above the trees, it was easy for her to see the forest clearly, and so she was able to find Prince Oran's cap. She then brought it for him and also told him that he saw his guards while she was in the air and pointed Prince Oran to the direction they were. Prince Oran thanked Elira and promised to come and find her again. Prince Oran began occasionally visiting Elira as the days went by. He made sure he visited Elira alone and that his guards didn't follow him to the spot he usually met with Elira. As the days went by, the bond between Prince Oran and Elira began to grow deeper. Prince Oran continued to pray to the gods to grant his wish for him and Elira to be together. Some days later, Elira never heard from Prince Oran. He never came to visit her. Elira was worried, but she knew she couldn't go into the village. That night, when Elera's mom came to the cave, she told her daughter that all was ready and that they will all be leaving for another village the following week. Elera's mother, Modu, told her daughter that she had harvested her crops and just needed to sell everything so they could leave and go be together in another village. Elera was happy with the news and hugged her mother. The next morning, Mira came to visit Elera. The two friends began to discuss and play. Elera then confessed to Mira that she had been meeting the prince for some days. She continued, saying that she didn't know how to tell her mother, since her mother had been through so much already. Mira told Elera that they will all be leaving the village the next week and there was no need to put more thoughts on her mother's mind. She then also told Modu that a strange illness was affecting the village, but so far it was only affecting the men. In the palace, a few days later, Prince Oran fell sick due to the strange illness in the land. The native priest of Bantai village was consulted as to how to cure the deadly illness affecting the men in the land. The native priest told the king that the sickness was not without a cure but that getting the cure would be difficult. The native priest told the king that only the liquid juice from a special flower called the rainbow corn could heal the prince and the men that the sickness affected, or they would be paralyzed after some days. The rainbow corn flower grew only in the highest top of the mountains. The king then told his warriors to get ready to go look for the flower even if it meant them dying on the journey. He declared that whosoever brought back the flower could have half the wealth of the palace, if he so desires. The native priest told the king that it would take a miracle to save Prince Oran, that the prince may already be paralyzed or dead before the warriors arrive after many days. The news of Prince Oran spread around the village. The villagers became more sorrowful because their beloved prince and also their young male children might soon be no more because of the deadly illness. Mira, after hearing about Prince Oran, rushed to tell Elera about the news. Elera told Mira that she had flown to the mountain where the magical rainbow flower grew. She told Mira that she needed to save the prince. Elera took to the sky and began to fly to the highest mountain where the rainbow cornflower grew. At the top of the mountain, she plucked the magical flower and flew down to her cave. It only took her a few minutes, but she knew only she could do it in that amount of time. It would take the soldiers days to go and come back to the village. By then, the prince may already be dead. Elera disguised herself and went into Bantai village. Mira stylishly followed her from behind to avoid suspicion. When Elera got to the palace, she unveiled herself and told the king who she was. She also told the king that she had flown to the highest mountain and she now had the rainbow cornflower to save Prince Oran. The palace staffs and servants were all too shocked to see Elera in the palace. They were very surprised. With the permission from the king, Elera went to where Prince Oran was. She brought out the magical rainbow cornflower and squeezed the juice into the mouth of Prince Oran. It was like a miracle. Prince Oran coughed and was well again. The news of Elera and Prince Oran spread like wildfire around the village. Prince Oran told his father the king that he wanted to marry Elera. The king, having seen their love, gave them his blessing. However, Elera was reluctant and said that she would be hated as a queen in the village since no one wanted her. She thanked the prince and king and told them that she was going to leave. Prince Oran told Elera that the gods would answer his prayers and they will be together. Tears fell from Elera's eyes. As Elera went outside the palace, she was met with a surprise turnout. Almost all of the villagers were outside the palace and on their knees. The villagers begged Elera to return to the village and that she should save their children. Elira started to cry and Prince Oran hugged her. "They accept you now. I guess you will be my queen after all," the prince whispered in Elira's ears. It was a new dawn in Bantaif village. Elira healed all the male who had been sick in the village. Elira became the queen and married Prince Oran. Modu, her mother, Mira, and her little brother all moved into the palace and began to live a new life. The people of Bantaif had now realized that Elira was a blessing from the gods.